Welcome to another edition of Len's Burning Bush. I am Len Harvey. Before I bring on my guest for the week, I want to talk about what's really burning my bush, and it is seething this week. So episode 51, a few weeks ago, we had Mike Dardis on from WLWT, Channel 5, and I mentioned about my car buying experience. Where back in January, I ordered a car. I had to order it because they didn't have it available. And then in March, they screwed up my order, and then we had to do it again. So after the first issue, I told them that I wanted to be kept updated through the entire process. Now, this seems like a simple request. A call, a text, an email. It's pretty easy to do that. You don't even have to talk to me. Just let me know where we're at. Like, dude, where's my car, right? Pretty simple. Am I being unreasonable to expect that? Is this the customer service? Is it that bad right now that you can't even get that? After all, you're buying an expensive item, and should you gain that respect, right? Well, the reorder of the car took place, as I'll explain this, on March 22nd. And they said they would get with the manufacturer and try to speed up the process. Now, I have to laugh a little bit as I do this because let me stop for a second. If they ever did a drug test, either at the dealership level or the manufacturer level, one drug they're not going to find is speed. Okay, so that's the first thing that I noticed. And of course, after this, I never heard from them. I emailed them and asked, what's going on? They told me that it was in D1 with a VIN number. I don't even know what that means, but I know it had a VIN number. That I knew. Then a few weeks later, I emailed again and asked, where is it again? And they said it's D1, scheduled to ship on April 28th. Okay. Can't you just send me an update without me contacting you? But again, after not hearing from them, it's April the 19th, and I'm just like, I haven't heard from them in a week, at least, after I emailed them. And I said, I want to call them. So I got on the phone, I called them, I said, well, what's the update? I get kind of the same answer. And I asked the sales manager, is there any reason why you can't keep me updated through this process? That's been my biggest complaint through the whole thing. No one tells me anything. His answer was, I forgot to call you. And I said, you haven't called me in the entire time. What is going on? What is this? I mean, how do you forget? But, I said, no one has ever called me. I've had to call you. You knew this was the reason. This is the reason that I was upset through the whole process through the first time. And I said, and keep in mind, as I'm doing this episode, no call or email or text since that 19th phone call. Really? I'm at a point now where I want to tell them to stick it. And I know what is going to happen. This is what's going to happen. They're going to call me up, and it's going to be close to the end of the month, and the car is going to be there, right? Because that's in the car business. That's when they want to sell it, right? By the end of the month, they're going to tell me, your car's ready to be picked up. I think I might tell them, I'll let you know when I'm going to pick it up. I mean, I'm at a point now where I have nothing to lose. I really can't stand this whole waiting process. They're going to tell me when you want to come pick it up, and I'm going to say, I don't know. I'll be there when I be there, right? And that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'll keep them waiting. Now, I won't mention the dealer because I don't want to do that. There's probably some good people that work there. But there's one thing I will want to do if I do decide to pick this car up, is to, when I'm done, on the way out of the dealership, I want to tell them I will never buy another car from them again, and I will gladly drive 35 miles to the next dealership and wave at them as I go by. They probably won't care, but it'll make me feel better, and isn't that what this is all about anyway? With that being said, it's time to bring on my guest for the week. He is an award-winning vocalist from the great city of St. Louis. Please welcome the very talented Joe Mancuso to Len's Burning Bush. And Joe, I'm excited that you're here, but do you ever have this happen to you? What is with the customer service today?
I don't know. I've never bought a car online. Is that basically how this started? You were online?
No, we looked online to try to find it. My wife wanted a particular type of car, right? So we were trying to find, we have a particular type of car that she has, and we were just trying to upgrade because the manufacturer had this cash back, and we We wound up having a lot of equity in our car. So we were just trying to figure out getting a new car would actually be cheaper, right? So that was the idea behind the whole process. So we went to this dealership. They couldn't find any that were anywhere within a 500-mile radius with the type of color, the options that we wanted, which is ridiculous because the first time we bought this car, we were able to get one off the lot. But I understand they've had issues with production, that stuff, right? So we go to the dealer. They say, no problem, we'll order it. Famous last words. So January 4th, we order the car. Of course, they don't update me through the whole process. Finally, March 16th, they call. Hey, the car's in. Come on down. So we had to rush everything. I get there. There's no sunroof. There's no navigation. And I'm like, this is not what we ordered. How do you screw up the order, right? They know how to take the reservation. Apparently not. That's what we talked about on the last episode of the show. So I had to reorder it through the whole process. And I'm like, I don't want to do this, but I figured at this point I have hand, right? Because, they screwed up. I'm going to get the best deal. They're going to give me, the old putty line, the insider's deal, right? At Seinfeld. So I decided, let's reorder it. And again, no one is calling me. Like, what? I mean, again, where's my car?
I think in this situation, you already put yourself at a huge disadvantage because you're ordering a car with specific, accessories.
Yeah.
They got you.
Yeah.
So, like, when there's a car just sitting there on the lot, I've bought several new cars in my life, and I learned how to buy a new car from my grandpa, who took me. We walked out of 4 dealerships before we bought the car, but we were trying to buy the same exact car. And he had a formula, and it took us all day long. I got the best damn price on my first brand new car, which was a Honda. And we walked off the second last lot for $50. And I said, "Hey, Grandpa, we got the, he almost wanted to fight over this thing. Back then they used to call the document fee.
Yeah.
Which now is like $200. Back then it was $50. And I got tired of it. I was like, Grandpa, let's just make this offer. And it was like $6,850 bucks, and we started at $8,200 at the first dealer. But the car was on the lot, and it was the end of the month, and they got to move cars. So I think, when you order a car like that, it sucks that you had to put up with so much of these excuses and forgetting to put the sunroof in and stuff like that.
And they never even admitted that they made a mistake. Like, had they been a little forthcoming with, what? It was almost like when it happened, they're like, oh, you were hemming and hawing about what options. I go, hold on a minute. The sunroof and the nav were never in discussion as to what was going to be not in the car. Because the car they're taking has a sunroof and nav. Why would I have another, why would I get another one that doesn't have it? So, and it's just become a nightmare. But I really would like to tell them to stick it. That would be the ultimate, right? Yeah. They call in and say it's coming in. I go, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to pass.
Right.
Yeah.
You still don't have it?
No. Matter of fact, it's supposed to be, according to the email or the phone calls I did after I called them, or the text or whatever, I was told that it was supposed to be shipping on April 28th. That's all I know. I don't know any more. But ship.
I forgot the second one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the second one. The first one came in on March 16th and they screwed it up. And I'm, again, this is the things that it's first world problems. We don't need, at the end of the day, it's not a big deal, right? People have had COVID. We talked about it, sicknesses and all this stuff. And I'm worried about a stupid car. But this is why we have a radio. This is why we have a podcast to talk about things that bother me. But let's get into you. We met at a house party, and my good friend Jay Brandt, and he had you and Dave Black at the house, and you did a fantastic duo together and singing. I actually have the CD, and why don't you tell a little bit about? You've been doing this for a long time, and you love the jazz stuff that you do. So talk about that.
Yeah, well, I'm in St. Louis. I'm known as a jazz singer, and So I perform around town in many different configurations: duo, trio, quartets, big bands, and that's what I'm known for. But growing up, I was a rock and roller. I was a singer songwriter. In high school, I was in a rock band. And then I went to college and studied jazz and became sophisticated, I guess. And I kind of fell in love with, with jazz, the history of it, the instrumental jazz. I like to listen to, instrumental jazz horn players. I like stuff that's post-war, mainstream bebop and, stuff from the 50s and the 60s. And so along with that, the singers, jazz singers of that era, um, are some pretty incredible musicians, especially the ones that scat. Um, but a lot of people look at me and they say, "Oh, they see an Italian American, my last name. They see that I'm Italian. I grew up on the Hill, which is the Italian Little Italy of St. Louis." They all kind of like associate me with like a Sinatra or Dean Martin or that kind of stuff, because I do that stuff at some of my performances, but I'm not just a pop singer that's singing jazz tunes, or like back then, those guys were really considered pop singers, not really jazz singers per se. But however, Sinatra sang mostly jazz standards, and he didn't really scat or improvise, but he did a couple of times. But his contemporaries or other people like Billie Holiday, or well, maybe not even her so much. She's considered a jazz singer, but she didn't really scat that much. But there were a lot of other singers that kind of escaped me right now since I just woke up. But one of them was Anita O'Day, I think her name was. She was an incredible jazz singer, same era as Sinatra, but she would, she was very skilled as a musician who could scat and hang with, the instrumentalists. So I kind of lean more towards that. I scat a lot. I love instrumental jazz. The guys that play with me, I let them really stretch out and solo. It's not like I sing the song and there's a little 4-bar instrumental break and I jump right back in on the bridge and then the song's over. It's not like a pop tune. Sometimes, Dave and I will we'll perform a tune and it might last 7 minutes with just two guys, soloing and scatting. Whereas when I'm in a band, it might be a 8-9 minute, version of that song, because we're really stretching out. I'm letting the piano player play several solos, and sometimes there's a drum solo. It's it's jazz. It's straight ahead jazz with vocals.
Yeah.
But I also do, like with how I did at that show that you saw me at, pop tunes, Motown, old rock and roll, that we kind of give a jazz a treatment to. We twist it a little bit, and that's a lot of fun because most people aren't familiar with jazz standards, but they're familiar with Ray Charles or Joe Cocker or whomever, whatever the tune that we're doing. I'm doing some Paul Simon tunes now, and it's really, at first I thought I might be upsetting people with changing how it was done originally on the recording, but 99% of the time people say, wow, we really love what you did to that song, and to me that's jazz. You take a song and you change it, you twist it, because in reality jazz standards were pop tunes taken from most of them show tunes, plays, movies, and these jazz musicians would get to them and twist them and turn them and change the harmonies on them. So that's what jazz is really for me.
Yeah, and you do such a great job, you and Dave, when at the show. And one of the songs I remember, you took "Get Your Kicks" on Route 66, and you just went to town with that. And it was just fabulous.
Oh yeah, that's a fun one. Yeah, and that's just a blues number. Yeah. That's like 12-bar blues, and the way that a lot of people hear that song is how Nat King Cole did it. Very mild mannered and structured, and yeah, I take that. I really push that one off the cliff. I love to go off on a tune.
Absolutely. Now, how is I talked to Dave, I talked to Javier. Obviously, the pandemic has killed music, and we want to get it back. And hopefully now that you've got a show coming up in May. So talk a little bit about that and how that's affected you.
It's really affected me just as of recently, pretty hard. Coming off of performing 2-3 nights a week to zero, after about a year of that, um, I found myself in bad health. Didn't even really know it. I was not moving around as much because I'm at home. I'm not lugging my PA to and from a gig, setting it up, sweating, and then performing for 2 to 3 hours, sometimes 4. With just when I sing, for some reason, I give it my all, like it's the last time I'm ever going to sing, and I sweat. So I wasn't doing that. I should have went to not the gym. I should have just worked out and replaced that um, activity or that energy with something else, but I didn't. I sat around the house, put on about 15 pounds, and I guess I got a little depressed. I was kind of neglecting my health. I wasn't watching my diabetes. I'm type 2. I wasn't checking my blood that often, and when it was high, I get, oh God, I gotta really watch it. And then I wouldn't check it for a month, and put myself in that kind of a state. It's mainly my own fault, but COVID kind of made that happen for me. I think between the depression of not being able to perform, which is sort of like my own therapy. It's how I get high, if you will.
Yeah.
And the activity of doing it. And then just a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago, or 4. Well, it's been almost a month now. I got COVID, and it was so bad that I had to go to the hospital, and I was in there for 5 days, and it was basically because I wasn't taking care of myself, and I had 2 comorbidities. I was, probably 50 pounds overweight, and I got type 2 diabetes that was out of control, and really knocked me on my butt. But I'll tell you what, it's kind of changed my life. I've got all these doctor appointments. I've got a checklist of things I got to do. I'm getting a sleep study. I'm getting a colonoscopy. I'm just checking all the boxes that I'm supposed to have checked at the age of 54. And I'm just going to listen to the diabetes doctor and not try to self-diagnose myself anymore, and just take care of myself, because it was a close one.
Yeah.
But it's a long answer. I hope I answered your question. I can't.
Oh yeah, you're fine, and getting to the health issue. We're so glad that you're coming through this, because the world's a better place with Joe Mancuso singing in it. So make sure you stay around for a long time. We want to make sure of that, and I want you to come. Hopefully, Jay will have another house concert soon. He talked about that coming up, and I'm sure you guys will be invited, because it's all good. But I'm just happy that you're getting through it. And you talked about the therapy portion of singing. One of the reasons I started this podcast was kind of a similar thing, just not much to look forward to, and that was my therapy on Saturdays, just doing this podcast. And it's really helped me with my sanity. So I can imagine not doing what you love to do for that long. It just makes you crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do have some other outlets. I have over the last 2 years kind of built a recording studio in my house. My whole house is a recording studio, because I use a lot of the different rooms. And my daughter has a rock band, so I'm producing her music right here out of the house, and I'll be producing my next album right here out of the house. And years ago, I was an audio engineer. I used to own a recording studio. I know what I'm doing, but all the equipment has changed. So it's taken me about a good year to wrap my mind around all the new, digital stuff. Because when I was producing music, we were still rolling, multi-tape. And
reel to reel, remember that?
Oh yeah. We would mix down digital, and we had digital editing equipment, 2-track stuff, but not multi-track. But it's amazing what you can do with today's equipment that is light years ahead of what we used to be able to do in the mixing portion of making music. There's just so much you could do. It boggles the mind, and I had to get my head wrapped around it. And now I'm ready to start pumping out some music. My daughter, we released her third single, and we're working on an album that's going to have, I think, 11 tunes. But they've already written music for 2 more records. They just keep pumping out this new music, and so now they're looking at me and, hey, come on, Dad, let's go, let's get this stuff out there. And so, I was kind of dealing with that too, learning how to use this stuff during COVID and pumping out their first 3 singles. But now we're going to start releasing a new one every month. Yeah.
So how can we get your daughter's record? I know that she's got her own band and you're producing it. So why don't you talk about that?
We put out our first record a couple years ago, and this is their second one we're working on. So if you go, the band's name is Crystal Lady. So if you get music from Apple or Spotify, all you got to do is look up Crystal Lady, and you'll see they have 3 new singles, and they have a whole record, I think, with 12 tunes from, I guess, 3 years ago out there. And they have a logo that kind of looks like a kind of a trippy mandala design, and it says Crystal Lady. It's purple, so you'll see that. And the new record has a cover that's got like a picture of my daughter's face, but it's kind of like hand drawn, and it's just like half of her face. And the name of the new album is Hurricane. So behind here, there's like a hurricane and all this destruction.
Ah.
Yeah, but just look up Crystal Lady on the streaming services, and you'll see that.
Awesome. So a talented family is what you're telling me. It's a talented family, the Mancusos.
I came from a line of singers. My aunt, my dad's oldest sister, she passed away a few years ago, but she was my musical inspiration. Her real name was Josephine Mancuso, but she went by Laura Tracy. She traveled the world. She sang in USO shows in front of big bands, and moved to Los Angeles back in the mid 60s, mid 60s. But she had the story that she told me that she hated to tell, and she was opening for this act in Vegas called Rowan and Martin, and they asked her if she wanted to be in this new TV pilot they were putting together. And she thought they were square, and she says, I'm going to do another USO tour. She went on tour, came back, and lo and behold, Laughing was on.
Yeah, I was going to say Laughing.
The television.
Oh.
She kicked herself in the butt for years on that one.
Oh.
She could have been a huge star. Yeah.
Well, it's the roads you don't take sometimes, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of, but sometimes things are meant for a reason. Now we are going to have you sing at the end of the show, so I want you to get ready for that. But I want to, you think about all the stuff that's been happening with COVID, right? Well, things you didn't know, that it's been tough to get things during the whole pandemic, right? One of the things that's on the list right now, I don't know if you know this, and now you're getting healthier, so this would be not a concern, but chicken wings apparently has been something that is having some issues. There's been a shortage of chicken wings around.
Really?
I know in the Cincinnati area, we've been having issues. Restaurants are just basically saying, look, we don't have any chicken wings. How can you, come on. Like, you go to B-Dubs or whatever, you go, Hooters, I can't get any chicken wings? I mean, what kind of stuff is this?
I guess they got to get nuggets. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I mean, apparently it said there's been a shortage of chicken wings. The prices are also going up for chicken wings as well. According to a Covington restaurant in Kentucky, Smoke Justice, the reason is, for the necessarily shortage of chickens, but a shortage of actually at the processing plant. So it's not actually the chicken, so it's just the workers at the plant. So that's where the chicken wings come from. So interestingly enough.
There's a place here in St. Louis where, I better not mention their name, but I eat a lot of chicken wings because I always try to eat kind of low carb, so I'll get a salad and wings a lot of times, and this one place my brother and I were laughing about it. Actually, my son and I, we were calling it the Chicken Wing Wars, because recently, over the last few months, and maybe this has got something to do with it, the quality of their wings has changed probably a dozen times, where they'll have these tiny wings, and then they'll have these big plump wings, and then they'll have wings that are breaded, or just, it's like they keep trying different wings. Maybe they just can't get the same consistency, and they got to buy wings wherever they can find them.
I guess so, but it's just crazy.
That. Yeah.
So we're getting old now, because I want to bring this up, and this is going to make you feel a little bit older today. Christy Brinkley is going to be 67, and she talked about on Fox News. She talked about the fact, that 67, she's going viral and all this stuff. They asked her whether or not she's going to pose again for a Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Do you remember the swimsuit issues back in the day?
Yeah.
She says, "Do you see yourself posing for Sports Illustrated swimsuit again?" Brinkley said, "I doubt it." I mean, you're asking a 67-year. I mean, granted, she looks fantastic, but at 67, that's probably not on her high priority list. She said, "I feel like I've been there, done that. I think when I put the bathing suit on again, I'll also want to have a snorkel on and go diving. That might not be as attractive for us." But again, Christy Brinkley, 67, and I'll always remember the scene in Vacation, right? It's yes,
driving in like I think like a Corvette or something, or and Chevy Chase and in the park where he's dancing with the sandwich and he bites into it. The dog pissed on.
Exactly. That's a fantastic movie. Christy Brinkley, of course, Billy Joel, right? Married to Billy Joel. So a lot of interesting stuff. Another musical reference. If you it's kind of funny, if you wanted some Kiss memorabilia, Paul Stanley is apparently demolishing his Beverly Hills mansion and basically selling everything. He's got like license plates and cups and travel bags and anywhere from $15 to $50. He's also got kind of expensive items like drinking glasses going for $1,200, which I don't understand why you'd spend that. Big French doors went for $900, and he even had a couch for over $2,000. He even put his lemon trees on the market for sale. I mean, is things that bad for Paul Stanley that he has to be selling his planters for $4,000? I just find it interesting. He's knocking down a 7-bedroom home in Beverly Hills. God bless him. And I like to tell this story about Kiss because I always liked the band Kiss. And I've seen them a few times. And just recently, in the last couple of years, they've been performing at Riverbend in Cincinnati, and we've seen them a couple of times. But this last performance, they're starting to get a little bit old, right? But what I mean by that is Paul Stanley gets them on stage, and now he sounds like the Jewish grandmother, little Bubby up there. He sounds like, "Hello, Cincinnati, how are you?" It's kind of funny how he's kind of morphed into Bubby. But Paul Stanley's, getting all that stuff taken care of. The band Kiss. Do you like the band Kiss? What were your thoughts?
I was never a huge fan of them musically because I have a problem when I listen to music. I analyze it at the same time too, and I always just found their music to be just so simple. Yeah. But that doesn't mean the music's bad when it's simple. It just didn't click with me. However, I thought Beth was a beautiful ballad. Mm-hmm. And the only other one that I remember being kind of popular is when I was a kid and we used to go to this roller rink. They would play, "I Want to Rock and Roll." Yeah. All night, and that was like the big song that everybody went nuts on the skating, in the rink, roller skating, and we were skating back then with 4 wheels, not 2.
Exactly. I like the 4-wheel skating as well, and then they had Detroit Rock City. But I agree. I mean, they're a marketing machine. That was what they really were. Yeah.
They were more about they were more about the experience, and that I always appreciated, and even more so now. How genius that whole thing was. Yeah. And I mean, they created they're like pioneers in marketing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
As far as merchandising.
Yeah, if you can only get Joe Mancuso stuff that way, right? We can only hope that that's going to be the marketing machine that is what's going on. But here's something. Now, being growing up in St. Louis and stuff, are you a bowler? Did you ever bowl?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not a big bowler, but I've bowled a lot of times because that's just something we did for fun occasionally,
Well, I've been bowling for about 40 something years at least. and I'm a bowler. My kids bowl. We all bowl Thursday night. But
You guys are serious.
yeah, we're serious average drinkers and bowlers. So
Okay.
we go there on Thursday nights. But so I never thought about this on how I want to be remembered, in the afterlife, and how I want, people do ashes and they bury them all over the place. I would never have thought to do this, but there's a gentleman just recently. His name is John Hinkle, and his father had passed away several years earlier. And he decided his father is the one who kind of taught him, how to bowl and everything. And Hinkle's bowled a lot of 300 games. So this is in Rochester, New York. I saw the story. But what's kind of interesting is that he took his father's ashes and placed them in the thumb hole of the bowling ball. So he took his father. So this is interesting. Now, he bowls two-handed. Now, legally, to do two-handed, you have to have you can't have three fingers holes in the ball. So he just had the thumb hole, right? So he basically he took the ashes, he put it in the thumb hole, and he bowled a 300 with the ashes in the ball. Talk about celebrate. I mean, that's it right there. $5. So my afterlife is going to be a $5 cover, 2-drink minimum, and they're going to take my ashes and just throw it down the bowling lane. I think that would be perfect. What do you think?
That sounds like a party.
I think so. We got to have a party. It might only not on 2-drink minimum. I think I'll go 4-drink minimum, right? Come on. I want you to stay for a little bit, enjoy, make sure you tip your waitresses, all those kind of stuff, especially now.
Get some of that bowling alley pizza.
Oh, outstanding. Outstanding. So before I get you ready to sing, I wanted to ask you, have you been watching Jeopardy at all? The guest hosting?
I saw a little clip in the news, but I have not. Yeah.
Well, Anderson Cooper's been on this week. They had Aaron Rodgers on, and Ken Jennings started it, and they've had other people. Now, apparently, LeVar Burton is going to get a chance. But here's some of the guests they're going to close out the season with. They've had Anderson Cooper on. They got Robin Roberts, George Stephanopoulos, David Farber, Joe Buck. Joe Buck is everywhere. And then LeVar Burton. And there was a petition that people wanted to have LeVar Burton come on. He's been on so many things. But again, LeVar Burton is going to get a chance. So we'll see who eventually becomes the permanent host. I don't know who's going to be, but nobody can really replace Alex Trebek. But it's been fun watching it with some of the. I actually like Katie Couric did a pretty good job when she was on. They had Dr. Oz. I can do her, give or take a few of him, but he was on. But anyway, that's so Jeopardy closing out their season with, and I watch it. I enjoy it. I like to think that I know stuff when I really don't, but I'm a good guesser. So that's it helps the trivia. So if you ever going to be at a bar, trivia night, and you need to phone a friend, give me a call because I got a lot of useless information in my head.
I could. You would be great on a trivia night.
Yeah, absolutely. You take me around,
Do you and your wife do a lot of those? Or?
We have, and she's amazed. So I tell this story a lot because I learn in a different way than most people. Like when I was a kid, I watched a lot of TV, so I remember a lot of stuff from when I was a kid. And it just, how they don't care how you get there, right? How you learn. So a perfect example, watching Jeopardy about 10 years ago, and it came up on. The question was, this bolero composer, blah, blah, blah. And I said, who is Ravel? And my wife goes, how in the world did you know that? And I said, well, you have to understand, I was a teenage boy once. And the movie 10 with Bo Derek came on. And she said the best song to make love to was Ravel's Bolero. And I was about 11 years old. And I'll tell you, it stood in my memory forever, and I will always remember that from that. So however you learn, Joe, it's good, right? So that's how I learned, and it's helped me in a couple of cases, especially watching Jeopardy. So there you go. That's what I've got. Ravel's Bolero. There you go. And you're not going to sing Ravel's Bolero, but give us an idea what, a typical show. You've got a show coming up on May 1st, so why don't you plug that?
Yes. So, May 1st, I'm at this, new, it's new because it was supposed to have its grand opening in 2020, and we all know about that.
Yeah.
But it's a place called it's in a suburb of St. Louis called Kirkwood. So it's the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center, and it's a brand new construction, a brand new building that's really kind of modern, that has a main auditorium, and then they have like a basement black box theater. So there's two performance venues in this venue, and plus there's other rooms where they teach and offices, and it's a performing arts center. And so I'm kind of happy to be one of the first shows that's going to be presented out of that place. And it's a show with two other singers. One of them is a very dear friend of mine. His name is Robert Nelson. He does locally a lot of jazz and R&B. Then the other singer, her name is Dawn Weber. She's been on the scene for quite some time. She's very talented. She plays trumpet, she sings, she writes. And then the band is basically my organ trio, which is comprised of Hammond organ, guitar, and drums. And that's kind of a standard classic jazz configuration, organ trio. And it's really a fun group. It's jazzy, it's upbeat, it's it's snappy, it's just a really kind of cool sound to sing in front of. And we're doing a song that was we're doing a show that was supposed to be presented the weekend of Valentine's Day weekend, but we had like a super cold snap here in St. Louis, where we moved the show to May because it was so cold people weren't going to show up. And we kept the theme. We call it Kirkwood is for Lovers, which is the town of Kirkwood. It's in Kirkwood. We're trying to promote the fact that we're at the new, building, the new Performing Arts Center. And it's going to be a great time. 3 singers. We all get on and do a little bit, take turns. And it's a format that I use quite a bit here in St. Louis for bigger shows, where I'll bring on a couple other singers. Just because different singers have different crowds, and we get bigger audience, and it's just kind of fun. And then we'll duet, or we'll do all together, and it's like many of my shows, we don't even rehearse. We just pick out tunes. We make sure the band knows them, and the magic just happens on stage.
Love it, and I would like to hear a little bit of magic today. So on my show, Len's Burning Bush, give me a little bit of magic that we could expect on May 1st at the Kirkwood Performing Arts Center.
Oh, geez.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
I woke up, but I'll give you some. I don't know. One of the tunes that I don't hardly ever do is called "Love," and it goes, "L is for the way you look at me. O is for the only one I see. V is very, very extraordinary. E is everything that you are," and I forgot the lyrics. Hey, I got to brush up on that tune before the show.
Love it. Love it. Either way, we'll just love it. And Joe Mancuso, you're wonderful. Give out your website so people can find some information about Joe Mancuso, will you?
My website is mancusojazz.com. And my last name is spelled M-A-N, like man, and then C-U-S-O. Very simple, mancusojazz.com. Plus, you can find me all over, Facebook. Look me up. Friend request me. I got a page on there. I got a personal account. And I put a lot of info on Facebook because I just got a bunch of fans on there, and it seems like it's the place where I get a lot of, responses. I've got an Instagram, Mancuso Jazz. Occasionally I'll put stuff up there. But that's for the young folk. I don't.
You're not on TikTok, is what you're telling me. Mancuso is not on.
I did set up a TikTok. I only got like 3 videos out there. I'm like, man, this is weird.
Yeah.
But my daughter's on it every day.
Yeah, you're like Bill Belichick. I'm on the snap face. That's what I'm on. You can like Len's Burning Bush at Len's Burning Bush on Facebook, on Twitter at Len's Burning Bush. I got a YouTube channel, Len Harvey. You can listen on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. You can ask Alexa to play Len's Burning Bush now. We're on Stitcher. We finally we're on Pandora now. It took me almost a year to get approved to be on Pandora. So finally, they decided we were worthy enough to be on. But so now all the episodes are on Pandora. We've got a lot of countries, UK. We've got several downloads all the time in the UK. A lot of people are listening. And again, Joe, I don't know why, but they seem to like it. We'll just keep doing it, right?
That's cool, man.
Well, thanks to you. Thanks, Joe Mancuso, because it's fun. I want to see you back doing this on a regular basis and, singing again. And I hope that we can get together at Jay Brand soon, or I'll come out to St. Louis or whatever. We'll figure something out. But thank you, Joe Mancuso, for being on the show. We'll be back again with another episode of Len's Burning Bush next week. So long. So long. All right.
Very good.